All right, folks, for those who are joining, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We'll let everybody join and we'll get started. All right, we're going to about 30 more seconds. We'll jump in and get started. And Robert, just let me know when you want me to advance your slides when we get to your slides. So.
Very good.
All right, folks, we are going to jump in and get started. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of XenTegra's Webinar Wednesdays. Today, I have a great guest. My guest today is RingCentral, and we're going to be talking about enabling the remote worker. So how to run effective virtual meetings, share some of the war stories that we have, and hopefully everybody on the call today has some good questions, and the questions can range from anything about RingCentral to everything about how to run a good meeting when online, because we have a lot of good experts today. With that said, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Pete Downing. I'm the CMTO of XenTegra and your host today. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Robert and let Robert introduce himself from RingCentral.
Hey everybody, Robert Fishkin. I'm a partner manager with RingCentral. Been with Ring about 4 years, and I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Looking forward to presenting today.
And then I'll let James, aka Jimmy, introduce himself.
Yep. Hi, my name is James Kuklis. I'm a channel engineer with RingCentral. I'm based out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm here to support the sales staff technically. So let's welcome.
Yeah, so thanks for taking the time, guys, and joining us. All right, so let's jump in and have a little fun. So before we get started, we are actually using RingCentral today, is the webinar platform. So, you know, we're using what we're talking about today, so you guys have a firsthand experience of, you know, what and how RingCentral works today out of the box. That said, we do encourage questions, so there is a Q&A dialogue box, and in a little bit, we're going to be doing some polls, and I'm going to try to gather some information from the audience as we get a little deeper into the conversation today. So that said, definitely encourage questions, so you know, please put them into the Q&A dialogue. And then I also turn on a feature that everybody on the call can see. If you like a question, you can vote on it. So that way, you know, we know that, hey, that's a popular question. All right. So then that way questions don't get answered or asked more than once. The agenda is going to be pretty easy today. So the goal is, you know, one, I want to lay the groundwork with polls. So if you've attended any of my sessions in the past, you know that I love to do polling and try to get some good data to help drive the conversation. And then I'll pass the baton over to RingCentral and we'll talk about a lot of different things around, you know, running effective virtual meetings to highlighting the platform as a whole. So we're going to dive into RingCentral in a lot of detail, and you know what their you know, their benefit of using them versus some of the other players in the space. And then finally, I'll cap off with a quick overview on who is XenTegra while you guys think up of any final questions that you may have. If you're not already doing so, please, you know, take a moment and bookmark this page, XenTegra.com/webinars. We are running a series every Wednesday, you know, and I invite guests, everything from vendors to colleagues to, you know, industry experts to help, you know, talk about various topics. And this list is growing, you know, every week, and it's going to build out through the end of the year. Parallel to that, if you also want to dig deeper, you can go to XenTegra.com/events and see some of the free one-day, half-day events we do, ranging from online hands-on training to online demo type workshops. So definitely check those out. And then finally, if you like podcasts, we just actually launched a new podcast today talking about the Rendezvous protocol that Citrix has finally enabled in the Citrix Cloud platform. But our founder and CEO, Andy, does a podcast almost weekly, sometimes 2 times a week, and we post those up every week and have new concepts and ideas coming out every week. So definitely check that out, XenTegra.com/podcast. All right, so for those who have done a webinar with me in the past, you know I love polls, so I put together a couple polls, and I'm going to ask a simple question, and we'll put it out there. I'm going to launch it, and hopefully you can see it. For those using the web platform, I'm not sure if this works, but hopefully you guys can. It is anonymous, so please take a moment to answer the first poll. What are you currently using a cloud-based collaboration platform today? And if so, which one? So more of just kind of gathering some information so we can know what to talk about potentially and what to hone in on. So I'll give this a couple seconds while you guys answer, and the panelists unfortunately can't answer because we already know the answer for the panelists. We'll have a little fun with this, and my suspicions were correct. And we'll give it a couple more seconds, and we're going to end the poll. All right, so we have a pretty mix of what I thought, which is going to be Zoom, and we'll talk about Ring and how Zoom and Ring are working together. And then and then Teams, which I fully expect. I think Teams has been making a lot of traction, especially in the last 2 to 3 months. I personally have been invited to a lot more Teams meetings than I've ever have been in probably the last few years of doing my job remotely. So that's interesting. All right, so let's talk the next polling question. How would you rate your remote work strategy today? So, are you still trying to figure it out? So give yourself a 1. If you think, hey, I'm in the middle, 3 is a good answer. And if you think, hey, I'm doing it and we're rocking and we're doing a great job, then hey, pick 5. Don't be shy. The goal here is to help figure out how we enable you to work remotely more efficiently and enable your workers to work remotely more efficiently. And we'll give this a couple more seconds. And going once, going twice, going 3 times. And we got everybody kind of right in the middle. We got, a couple bold folks saying they're about a 4, maybe a 5. Maybe you're a little shy. And then we got someone that said that, hey, I'm not ready. So definitely would love to, follow up with you that said, hey, I'm not ready, because we could probably help you figure out a good remote work strategy. All right, and then my final question is, what is your biggest issue with remote meetings today? And I could have made a whole list, so I kept it simple with a couple that I've seen. And is it VoIP and call quality? Is it the good old fashioned you get echoes all the time, which it's because people forget to mute themselves? Complexity, integration with other tools, or cost? And I kept it very simple for a reason, because I know I could make this list a mile long, but I've highlighted some of the things I know are affecting you today. So we have a couple seconds while you guys throw an answer in. And again, pick the one that bothers you the most as an attendee even. We'll give a couple more seconds. Going once, going twice, and going 3 times in fun. So we're going to share this poll. So they're good spread. So we got a lot of different answers. Echo, we'll get into this maybe later, but I think echo comes down to equipment and how you're leveraging different tools of the trade. For those who follow me, I've been posting up, quick, videos on things you can do to enhance your meeting experience. And I'm sure Rob and Jimmy have great ideas on how you can enhance your experience around meeting. All right, so that's our polls, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to answer those. I love, like I said, doing some polls because it just makes it more interactive, and it allows me to get some good data so we can talk about it later on. All right, so if you're not following us on social, definitely do. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. This recording today will end up on YouTube eventually, so definitely keep an eye out there. And then finally, Facebook if you're on there because you're keeping in touch with grandma. So we do cover all the different platforms. We're active on all of them, and that's where you can usually find out some of the latest and greatest information on any of the partners we work with. All right, so let's talk about how to run effective virtual meetings, and I'm going to have Rob and Jimmy jump in and really talk about the notion of that. So I'll let Rob, you take the baton and kind of highlight what RingCentral is doing today and how you guys are helping run an effective virtual meeting.
Thanks, Pete. Well, yeah, everything we do is about enabling better communication, be it on any device, be it anywhere in the world, be it communicating the way that's most effective for you internally and for your customers. So, man, virtual meetings been prevalent these last few weeks. How do you do the most effective virtual meeting? So one thing that I always like to go back to when I think about when I first started at RingCentral 4 years ago, one of the biggest kind of eye openers for me was, you hear all these buzzwords about effective communication. What does that actually mean? Think about a project that you've worked on where it's complicated. Maybe there were about 12 people involved in it, right? And you start collaborating on this project and there's an email chain that goes out. And then people start scattershot replying to different parts of it in that project that you're working on. And you get into, what I think a lot of us call email hell. And it gets confusing and it gets complicated and it's hard to kind of keep the contextual reference of what you were talking about. You go back in the chain of email and then someone texts you and then someone calls you on your personal phone. And then they call you on your business phone, you get a voicemail. And the project, while it's moving along and we're all, I'm sure on this call, very competent and able to get our tasks done, it wasn't the most effective way that project could have been run. And even if you're running project management software, or whatever else you're doing in that project, the communication probably could have been better. Now let's take that and let's tie it to the meetings that we've all been having the last month, right? Some of us are very used to having virtual meetings. Some of us a bit newer, use them occasionally, but one-on-one phone calls, meeting in person, and so on was what was key. Think about what I was just saying before about the scattershot approach to communication, and now think about what we've been doing virtually. It's still kind of confusing. So what RingCentral does to tie it all together is it takes your communications and truly unifies it. Unifies the phone, fax, text, video, audio conferencing solutions, and makes it so that you're using one solution to schedule your meeting. You're using one solution to communicate about what the meeting's for through our chat tools. You actually use the same solution in the same app to actually host the meeting. And then for follow-up, you're also using the chat tools, the communication tools, and everything's tied in a nice clean box. So the first step in enabling effective virtual meetings is unifying everything. App overload is something that we're all suffering from. I know I'm suffering from it with the tools that I use beyond RingCentral at times. But what's cool and what we've been doing is we've been tying everything together. So one of the other main pieces is think about how you work. If you're a salesperson, you might be working in Salesforce. If you're a customer success person, you might be working in Zendesk. If you're in accounting, you're working in financial tools and Excel. RingCentral, what we've tried to do to enable effective virtual meetings and effective communication overall is make sure that we are existing in the platforms that you're working in. And Pete, if you could progress the slide. And please, as I'm talking, please send in questions, anything else that you want us to go over. We want this to be, interactive. We want to hit the right things that you're here for, and we thank you for your time. So communications is always the lifeblood of a business, right? If you think about it, communicating effectively internally and externally is a strategic advantage. Obviously, your people and your culture contributes to that, but the tools that you have contribute to that also. Just as simple as, can you set your out of office or a voicemail or change your call flows from home? Does someone actually have to go into your office right now? There's companies that are getting into all sorts of trouble at the moment because they still have their contact center employees going into the office. Think about what the optics of that are. Think about, the potential for lawsuits even when we're coming out of this. What does the world look like after all this? But what does it look like right now? Communications will always be mission critical. And with RingCentral, there's been a lot, and Jimmy, maybe if you want to pop in here, there's been a lot in the news about security issues, reliability issues with different platforms. And can you talk maybe a little bit about what we've been doing or address any of those types of concerns before we continue?
Yeah, absolutely. So while we do share some of the platforms with other providers within our solution, like Zoom, our structure, the way we've set it up, we're independent. So our data centers run independently of the other, applications that we run. So it's all hosted within our own, and then with our own security platforms we have set in place where you can set your passwords and such like that. We have the ability to keep those independent of, what's been out in the public right now. So again, with some of the security concerns, RingCentral doesn't reside any of our systems in China. So, a lot of the things you've been hearing in the news lately does not apply to us. And then also the iOS applications you've heard lately with people sharing stuff with Facebook, we don't do that. We have that on lockdown as well. And then, as long as you put in the proper security, like setting your passwords, sending meetings, and locking down your meetings, you're good to go.
So James, what would you say is the number one tip when you schedule a meeting to keep it as secure as possible? And I know this is kind of a leading question, but I'm curious to see what you guys think.
No, absolutely. The number one thing to do is obviously you want to set a password. And then if you have your audience in play, once the meeting is, started and you're ready to go and kick it off, lock it down for any other, so we have a simple setting in there where you can go and you just say, okay, we're locking the meeting down to these, 10 participants or 15 participants, whoever you voted in there, so those are your, two main things. But when you set it out, obviously you want to send it to secure, people. You want to make sure the invites you're sending are there. And obviously everybody's got to respect, keeping, their information public. If you're in a public place, don't go screaming out the password for your meeting session or something if you have to log in. So, stuff like that is, been in the news lately where people have been like bombing into different, hacking into different meeting IDs. So again, we keep the meeting IDs scrolling. So again, you're never going to get the same meeting ID. And then again, as long as you change that password and set the password, you could be good to go.
Yeah, and I guess, because, security seems to be very top of mind right now. What is, the value of RingCentral is kind of the VoIP, correct? And I would argue that that's one of the key benefits of RingCentral is your strength in voice over IP. And I'm guessing you guys have a pretty secured network around that as well.
Correct. Yes. All our voice, everything in our data center, anything moving or anything, in transit and anything at rest is fully secured and encrypted. So again, we have certain certifications. We're high trust certified. So if you're in the HIPAA environment, those are the certifications that, anyone in healthcare that the government mandates that you be. So again, HIPAA, again, the solution is not HIPAA compliant. It's the certification in your data center, which make you compliant. So again, we are high trust certified. I think we do those certifications every 6 months. So we're up to speed on all those certifications, and we can provide a BAA agreement, which is a business associate agreement for anybody in the healthcare space. And we also are SOC 2 compliant. So anybody in the financial services sector as well, we meet all those compliances. And then again, if there's any of, the customers out there that need more info, we have plenty of references that we can, refer to you. And, that would be something we'd like to take offline if you have any questions, for sure.
Cool. Thank you. So, Robert, next slide, or you want me to stay on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. And there you go. So you got your app, your messaging app. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So how's this for marketing? Our marketing team has what's called the MVP, Message Video Phone. So kind of what I was talking about before. RingCentral wants to be the MVP for you and tie everything together. We have two meeting solutions actually to host your effective meetings. So the first one is RingCentral Meetings, which is powered by Zoom. We're using the webinar version of that. So RingCentral Webinars powered by Zoom to host this event right here. So that's what we've been traditionally using in the RingCentral ecosystem since I've been here. And we have an existing contract with them, and you'll continue to see this on our platform. What's nice about the RingCentral Meetings platform for hosting your meetings, of course, is that you could tie in with the RingCentral rooms, which are your telepresence rooms. So if when we're back, meeting in person, but we are still meeting with people overseas or in different locations, we actually have rooms where you could collaborate together. You also can host very, very large meetings on this. The webinar licenses, I believe, go up to 10,000 users. It's tied in with the RingCentral application. Announced last week is something very exciting, RingCentral Video, which is our own proprietary platform that we rolled out. It's been in beta, I believe, or in testing, alpha beta, for 3 years. It's clean. And the really cool thing about it is it's no downloads. So it's built off of WebRTC. It's really considered a very new type of meeting solution. Whereas, the original meeting solutions that came out, a long time ago were one siloed thing. It was an install. The second tier of these meeting solutions that came after that were a little bit more mobile friendly, were a little bit more, work on any device. But now, RingCentral Meetings is meant to work anywhere on any device. And if you're hosting from a browser, there's absolutely no downloads. It's super secure, clean, it's awesome, and it's your choice, whichever one of these meeting platforms you want with your RingCentral service.
Cool.
Jimmy, any color, or Pete, did you have any questions to dive into on that?
No, as you stated, the speed of it is what makes it so attractive. Again, it's you click on a browser, there's nothing to download. When traditionally with any of the meeting apps that people were using, when you click on the link to get in, it comes up with a browser, then you got to run an application. And, especially for people who, are very busy and they get there like 2 or 3 minutes before the meeting starts, this makes it easy. You're right in there on the fly. There's nothing to download. And the beautiful thing about it too is if you have security restrictions on your computers where you're not an admin and you can't, have admin privileges to load stuff on there, this makes it very easy because it runs through the browser. So very important.
Yeah, and so since Robert, you mentioned it, and let's just clear the air a little bit. So how does Ring currently tie into Zoom today? And I'm going to guess that you guys don't have some of the glaring issues that we've seen in the news over the last few weeks.
Yeah, Jimmy touched a little on it, and let's Zoom's a great platform, and we've had a great partnership with them for a long time. Yes, they inadvertently routed some of their data through China. Yes, they're fixing a lot of their issues. Yes, there were some Facebook issues. RingCentral, the benefit of us is the benefit of our network, right? So even before all of this news came out, we used, and Jimmy, correct me if I'm getting any of this technical piece incorrect, but we always used the Zoom platform for the signaling, the start and stop of the meeting, but the actual meat of the meeting, the transmission of data and everything goes over RingCentral's network. So RingCentral, RingCentral Meetings powered by Zoom, yes, it looks and feels and is big parts of it, the Zoom solution, but the actual transmission of data, the security pieces, and a whole lot of other things are handled by RingCentral.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hone in on, is that one fact is the transmission is on your platform.
Yeah, our network. I mean, it's pretty cool working here because in software as a service, there's so many things that are outside of what we can control as the vendor. The stability of your network and all sorts of other things. But RingCentral will actually give you a 5.9 SLA, as an over-the-top solution, which is pretty crazy. That's the confidence we have in our ability to execute, and our QoS portals, where you could see if there's ever an issue with a meeting, with anything at all, you can go right in there. And with RingCentral Videos, our proprietary platform, the analytics are really kind of next level. So if you're in management, if you want to see the adoption of people using your web meetings, like say you're a manager now, where you typically, would have face-to-face meetings in your office, and your whole game has changed, right? You have your remote workforce. Maybe your people aren't used to working remotely. You're not used to meeting remotely. How do you know what they're doing? With some of the traditional meetings platforms, you don't know, or you get some rudimentary analytics. With RingCentral, you could see data on phone calls. You could see data on text. You could see data on all the usage, adoption metrics, onboarding metrics. You could do it by team, get down granular into the individual. And then from there, you could see everything. And really, as a business owner, as a business manager, you can use data to tell the story of what your employees are doing. And it's valuable.
And also, in addition to the usage, you can also monitor the quality of service, which is very important. We have a quality of service tool that measures, every facet of, what we deliver, right? So if you're on voice, you're on video, every call we give we rate with a MOS score, and we have the ability, if there was a troubled call, you can actually go in and look at it, and you can actually pinpoint where the, issues occurring, right? Whether it be, somebody here in the States calling somebody, say, in Toronto or maybe the UK, and they picked up the phone, on their iPhone. Maybe they're on an iPhone 10 on a specific network, maybe Rogers, and you can see everything. We give you all that data so you can replicate the problem. And if there is an issue, you can replicate it very simple with the information that we provide in those quality of service reports. So very valuable tool, especially now. Again, I could tell you over the last month, it's been crazy. A lot of doctors' offices are, a couple of things that I've been, working on is like doctors' offices. They still have the reception folks, even though the doctors aren't going into the office. The reception folks, would have to go into the office and man the calls because they had no method of delivering the calls at home. So we were setting up a lot of doctors' facilities where we were going in there and able to train them. And then, if somebody's quality wasn't good, we were able to peek at it and say, okay, we got to just tweak this or tweak that. So it's been a very helpful tool for, getting that stuff delivered.
Yeah. And I'll speak from a customer point of view. I mean, XenTegra is a user, not only a partner, but a user day in and day out. I mean, we rely heavily on RingCentral, and I'll give you two examples. One, I use that call status all the time because I got to be able to track my BDRs and if they're actually making phone calls. And then two, I've actually integrated RingCentral into my Salesforce. So I can actually do click to dial. And then I can also track activity across the team now, which is pretty cool. And see, how effective, the calls have been, et cetera. And then I can also tie it into my SalesLoft implementation as well. So I not only are we a partner, but we're a user day in and day out. So it's a great platform from a user point of view. We actually got a good question, and I don't know the answer to this, but David asked a great question because he's an IGEL user. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the IGEL OS, which is a Linux-based OS. And the question is there a Linux installer for RingCentral today?
That I would have to get back to you on. I apologize for not having that. But David, we could definitely follow up with you on that question.
And what he's leading down, and I can give you guys a little sidebar education, on another date. And if you want to attend my session this afternoon, I'm actually doing a session with IGEL. We can do what's called a custom partition on IGEL, and basically embed it into the OS of IGEL and make it locked down. So then you can use the native OS as opposed to having it run in a VDI session. And so that's kind of where he's headed. But the good news is he said there's one for RingCentral Meetings. Is there going to be one for RingCentral Video? And maybe that's something to put in front of your PMs.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow up. I'm jotting that down as we speak.
Cool.
Yeah,
all right,
when
we're on the topic of
there's not a feature,
why don't we talk about one of the biggest differentiators that you guys have, which is the VoIP and the ability to do calls, et cetera. I think that's a very powerful feature, and I think you guys do more than just meetings and doing what we're doing right now, which is a webinar / collaboration. So let's talk about that since we're on that topic. What do you think?
Well, it all really does tie together. I mean, unified communications, it needs to be truly unified. So I was kind of touching on it before, but yeah, we are everything involving your communications. We are doing. So we're an enterprise-ready solution. We could scale, from one user companies, if you're a single person shop, up to we have companies that have over 40,000 users. So really, whatever size you are, whatever you need, RingCentral's there for you. We are a proprietary platform. Our voice and all that solutions built from the ground up. We started in 1999 as an electronic fax company and grew from there organically, which is pretty awesome. So think about what you need now. Think about what you might need in the future. For example, something really cool that we came out with last year. Basically, if you think about customer support, not just in this COVID era, but just where it's going with the younger generations. What do people expect? And what they expect is an omni-channel response tool. So, for example, imagine you are stuck. And I know airports seem like a relic of an ancient world, but say you're stuck at an airport somewhere, right? And you're overseas, and you can't make a call, but you have data, and you could text, or you could fax, or you could go on Instagram or WhatsApp or any digital channel, and you want to be able to communicate with the company. RingCentral Digital Engage allows you to do that, and allows your agents to field these chats and different communications from your customers, and have it in one agent window, be able to identify who they are from their social profiles, and be able to connect with them and communicate with them. And this is the type of stuff that RingCentral is always developing and always improving. We spend a ton of money on R&D. We outspend our competition a lot on R&D, and I think that's why we've been a feature leader, Gartner Magic Quadrant, a leader within the Magic Quadrant for the last 5 years, as far back as I can remember. But yeah, the solution itself: phone calls on your cell phone, your computer, a physical device, a physical desk phone if you'd like one. Team messaging through the RingCentral app, so you could one-on-one direct message people, start a conference call directly from that, start a video call directly from that. Contact center solutions, we have our own ones like that RingCentral Digital Engage, RingCentral Engage Voice, which is a calling tool. And then we also have a contact center integration with Nice and Contact. So the RingCentral Contact Center powered by Nice and Contact. So whatever you need for your skills-based routing or your advanced contact center needs, we have it. Then we have RingCentral Global Office, which allows you to communicate from numbers, natively in different countries. I believe it's 40 plus now. We're an open platform. Our API documentation is all online. You can build your own integrations. We integrate with 200 solutions out of the box. And the analytics piece, like I was talking about earlier, is I mean, that's if I were a business owner right now, that's what I'd be asking myself. Do I have the digital story of what my people are doing? Can I measure productivity metrics? Can I measure the service level that we're giving to our customers in a changing, strange time? But then coming out of it, what do people expect? Am I able to deliver that? Have I been fooling myself over the last few years? Am I creating a unified environment or not? And man, is this a great time to readdress those issues and really kind of bring it to the forefront?
So like,
go on to the next one.
What's a one thing you guys are trying to do today? I know this situation hopefully won't last forever, which will come out of it at some point. But what's RingCentral doing to help enhance our current situation around the whole COVID response, et cetera? Can you highlight some of the offers you guys are doing and where you're really honed in on? And I know you're doing a lot with education and healthcare as well.
Yeah. So in K-12, not-for-profit organizations and healthcare, we've been offering free service. I believe it's 90 days, but we're going to make sure they have what they need through this. There's no contracts, there's no credit card required. It is just, hey, do you need to spin up our service? After that, if you want to keep it, that's great. If not, no big deal. For our existing customers, we've been increasing the number of participants that they could have in a traditional RingCentral environment, which was RingCentral Meetings powered by Zoom. Our standard users would get 4 video participants. Now they're getting 100. However, with the new RingCentral video offering now included, you have a choice. That out of the box includes 100 users. If you do a premium package, it's 200 users. And Q3, we're going to be rolling that up, such that we will have 500 users on a call. And then Q4 and beyond, I'm sure we're just going to keep scaling that. And look, we're looking to work with people. It's a case-by-case basis sometimes also. So if there's a specific need you have, if this is something new for you, we have teams and great partnership with XenTegra, obviously, to help you evaluate this, talk through any of your use cases. My time is spent to help Pete and support Pete and the squad with any of these conversations that you guys want to have. So just let us know.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. I've been doing, training classes for different, either medical facilities and a lot of, K through 12 schools and stuff. So anybody in that space who needs assistance, we have, within the platform, we have mock, situations set up where if you want to have a demo or, see what it looks like and, have us kick the tires, definitely get with Pete and, schedule a little time, we can show you what that looks like so you can, do your part.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to do a call for any questions anybody has. Definitely shoot. But I got a question, and kind of a fun one for the gang here. So if you were going to give a top tip on, how to run an effective remote meeting, what would it be? And I'll start with you, Robert.
Yeah, the mute button is your friend. There's settings in meetings apps where when you join, you can automatically have your video off and your sound off, your audio off. In most of these meetings platforms, RingCentral Meetings and RingCentral Video, both included, the space bar is an option that can unmute you. So please, mute yourself when you're not talking. That poll that you hosted at the beginning, Pete, quality issues, echo issues, which probably are a lot of the same. Aside from complexity of service, just using your mute button effectively and setting your settings up right probably fix that for you. Jimmy, what would you say?
Well, it's been interesting. I mean, if you look at what's happened the last month, it's, I always work from home, so I'm pretty much set up. You can see I got the green screen behind me. Fortunately, my kids are older and, they're home from school, one's from college. So my case, it's, easy, but a lot of people who have younger kids, especially in this environment, again, like you said, muting is key. As I said, I just like to be set up. Obviously, test everything before you can is probably the best thing. Get a feel for what your environment is. And, again, again, in this environment, it's been tough for people. And there is a lot of, over the last, I've been on, I can't tell you, probably at least 5-6 meetings a day where people have their kids in the background and stuff. It's been pretty well, understood that people are in a situation they really are not used to be. So, again, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just getting in there and getting in front of people, I think, is most important. But again, muting and just being aware of your backgrounds are important.
Yeah, and I'll add, I think equipment matters too. So, I always notice, like, Robert, you're on your ear pods, it looks like, and I tend to find those pick up a lot of background noise when you're on mute. So again, mute's your best friend. But I'll share, I'm trying to dig up a couple of links I have, and you guys have a great resource on your site on the best headphones, etc. But like I have a Jabra speakerphone that I use all the time, and I got for podcast type stuff, I got a Yeti microphone that you can kind of see right here in the shot here. But equipment matters. So that's my tip is, invest in a nice pair of headsets or a good speakerphone. If you don't like having headsets on, there's a ton of options out there, and they're all pretty decently priced and not crazy going to break the bank. You don't have to go and buy the high end Jabra earpiece that you can walk around your office and go a mile, right? You can just have a very simple wireless headset made by like Logitech as an example. The H800 is a great one that I like. Or I noticed, Jimmy, you got like a nice pair of headsets on right now that I'm guessing are wireless or Beats or Bose or one of the three.
Mute, Jimmy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there's a couple things. I have these because I do a lot of the recordings. You can see the green screen. But honestly, we standardized at RingCentral on the Savvy 700 series. These are actually, I like better than these because the distance here is, on these, you don't have as much distance at Bluetooth. These are amazing. And plus, the nice thing about these newer headsets, you can have 3 devices connected. I have my cell phone, I have my desktop phone, as well as my desktop, all connected to both of these devices. So depending on which one I'm wearing, if my cell phone rings or, the desktop rings, it gives you the flexibility to pick it up. But yeah, definitely quality. Any USB or Bluetooth headset is, again, the USB wired ones are nice. You just want to get one with a good thick wire into the headsets. That's the one thing because after you're moving around a while, that wire gets frayed and sometimes your quality will get, but again, definitely there. And the cameras are really good. Just be aware of where your camera placement is. That's the other thing I will say. Some of the new Dell laptops, the actual cameras are actually down by the keyboard. So it looks like you're doing this when you're typing and stuff like that. So just be aware of camera placement and, what's going on in your background too. So,
And
My man cave.
I'll ask a leading question, and then before I ask my question, Margaret asked a really good question. She wants
Yeah,
to
I saw
dig a
that.
little deeper on the call center stuff that you just mentioned, and they're in a situation where they need people to go in and answer the phones. Since we can't
Yeah.
do that, our phones say email us, and calls are not being answered. You need to get remote info on remote call center agents, et cetera. So I'll speak from a XenTegra point of view, and then you can fill in the what you guys actually do. But Margaret, we use the call center feature. So if you call our main line, it gives you a list of options, and then you hit, like, let's say you hit 3 to get to me, and it will actually ring my phone. So it'll actually ring my cell phone. And that's one of the things I love about RingCentral is I can have it ring on my cell phone, my computer, on a soft phone if I want to. So again, we're a customer. We use this every day, and it's vital to our business. I got folks spread out across the U.S. I got, and we're growing pretty quickly. So, but I'll let Robert and Jimmy comment from a vendor point of view. But here, that's an active testimonial from a real customer.
Thank you for the testimonial. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for your partnership. Yeah, Margaret, that's something we can fix for you immediately. What a lot of people in this situation have been doing right now is they've been setting up a RingCentral hosted contact center. And when I say contact center, it could be the true contact center solution, or it could be what we consider contact center light. So set up a RingCentral account, add each of your contact center agents as a user within the system. They'll have their own extension and direct number. You don't have to show their direct number, of course. And what we could do is we could set up a queue so that when someone calls in, it'll route out to the people in the order that you want. If you want to keep using the number that you have right now, there might be some way of being able to set up a forwarding rule. But what you might want to do is use a temporary number with RingCentral to get full functionality at the moment. That's something we could talk about, and that is right in our bread and butter. Additionally, when it comes to the voicemails will be transcribed for your agents. A WAV or a MP3 file will be attached to the email. So if they need to share it with someone immediately. And then additionally, you can actually see what your contact center agents are doing. We have some things called live reports, which is an add-on to our tool where you can have a wall board set up for you and management. You can see who's on the call, see what percentage of calls are being answered, see individual agent statistics, and get right into it. And I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it. It is a pretty simple process, but I mean, we could activate the service today, and you can actually have calls start routing pretty much immediately. You just need to do a quick setup.
So Margaret, I'll take an action to reach out to you, or have one of my client executives reach out, and we can try to get you hooked in with RingCentral if you don't object. And definitely we can get you set up pretty quick and get you a demo. But like I said, we use it all the time, and we don't go as far as having the call center feature. We have the, push the dial and it gets connected to one of us. So we have our finance office, our marketing, our MSP, our support desk, and then it hits one of us, because again, you can do that as well. But yeah, it's a great functionality, and I love it personally. It's a great tool to have, and the soft phone capability is one of my favorites. I could set up, if I wanted to, I could set up a soft phone right here on my desk, and I'm in Boston, right? That's what's great about it. Cool.
Margaret, everything's cloud, 100% cloud through RingCentral.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions to the audience? And while you guys are thinking of questions, I just want to highlight really quickly on how XenTegra and Ring work together. And while I'm going through that, think up any final questions that you may or may not have. And so this is Andy. He's our founder and CEO. Andy's a great guy based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he started XenTegra in 2012. And it was stemmed out of two things. One, it was stemmed out of the need to enable our customers to really kind of help customers get the most out of what they owned. And it was stemmed in Citrix, because we're all from Citrix in one way or another. And I've known Andy a long time, and he finally, I joined about 3 years ago. But on the other side, our other customer are great partners like RingCentral. So we not only go to RingCentral and say, hey, how can we help you? But we do events like this, but we also look to try to find them good quality customers. So it's a two-way street when we approach a partnership. So very simply, what and who we are. Well, I can sell you XenTegra, and I can sell you RingCentral, and I can sell it in two ways. I can sell it direct, and I can also sell it through what's called our managed service provider. And we actually do a managed service offering on top of RingCentral as well, and that's through our MSP business. But parallel to that, we can also come in and help you get it up and running. We can go as far as helping you train your users. We can give you tips and tricks. So we're not just going to sell you software and leave you, on the side of the road and say, thank you, have a nice day. We're going to help you try to get the most out of your investment. So that's something that we try to do to differentiate ourselves. So yes, I can sell you, but I can also come in and implement, and then you can get on the phone and even talk to me, and I can pull in my friends from Ring, and we can strategize on how do you get the most out of a solution like this. So, as you sit here today and think about any final questions you have, definitely if you want to dig deeper on any of the features we talked about, one of our client executives will be reaching out and trying to get, they'll follow on with you. And if you want to dig deeper, so I saw a question around the new video platform, we can definitely set up a demo. I'm assuming, guys, with that eventually. We got a great question around the call center. Margaret, I'll be reaching out to make sure we get you plugged into that. And then also we can help, sell it to you and get you set up pretty quickly. And again, if you need help with any projects above and beyond Ring, we obviously specialize in end user computing and cloud-based technologies. So that's one of our biggest value adds. And with that, I'm going to do one final call for questions. And, I'll ask one just because I'm curious. What is RingCentral's official stance on running Ring inside of a virtual desktop environment? And I asked that, and you can kick me under the table for asking that, but I'm curious because I do get that question a lot.
Yeah, no, as of today, it is not officially supported. We do work in that environment, though. You have to load it locally.
Yep.
I was actually on a call. Another partner asked us previously where we are. Citrix eventually down the road is in the works of being supported. So maybe Q3, Q4 timeframe. So, but for most cases, again, we don't officially support it, but it does work in the environment if you can load the soft phone applications on the local machines. It's just, we can't guarantee anything in that environment. So that's why we have to take that piece. But for the most part, you can work, and we'll work with you, best effort to see if we can get it, the way you need to be in the interim.
Yeah, and I'll speak again from my experience. We are actually testing it inside of our VDIs, and we actually have a pretty viable solution. So if any customers on the phone or anybody who watches this video, we can help you at least get it operational to some degree. And there's a lot of layers that I think people have to understand. It's not only just the video and the sharing. It's also, hey, I plug in a USB headset. I got to make sure that it passes through over the virtual channel to make sure it gets to the virtual machine, and then the quality sounds good. So there's a lot of different layers within that stream that plays into this. And obviously Citrix does a pretty decent job. I would argue they do all right without even having official support. Andy, our founder, he does it all the time, believe it or not. But yeah, I just was curious, and I know that you guys are doing some work around that. And I'm very excited to see what comes out of that over the next year. So, All right.
Yeah, we are too.
One final call for questions and any final inputs from Jimmy and Robert.
Yeah, I'll just close out and say, again, if you look at our, what we have to offer, again, we work with over 200 different applications, Salesforce, Zendesk, Zoho. So odds are you're using some of those applications out there, and we have an integration to make your life easier, whether you're in the office or out in the field now being remote, everybody working from home. So, again, we'll do every effort to make your life easier when it comes to getting what you need to get done. So please set up a webinar, a demo. We can definitely show you anything you need. So I'll hand it off there, and nice meeting you all.
Any final thoughts from you?
First of all, Pete, Andy, and the rest of the team at XenTegra, thank you guys for the partnership. You guys really have your stuff together over there. It's really always a pleasure working with you, and you guys really do bring a lot to your customer base, beyond just the solutions, of course. So I really appreciate working with you guys. For everyone on the call, if you have any immediate needs, we are happy to help. I know we've been talking conceptually about what the solution does, but like we're saying, if you'd like to see it in action, we're happy to do that with you. Just reach out to Pete and his team. And then aside from that, it's a very powerful solution, but to go back to the poll at the very beginning, it is not complex. It can do anything you want it to do, but it's easy to start using. It's intuitive for your users, and it could definitely help you in this time. And then, the world, as we're going to see it coming out of all this COVID mess, which is definitely going to be a more remote meeting type scenario and probably a lot fewer handshakes. So thank you everyone for your time.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so in closing, I put our contact information up on the screen for one last time, but I definitely invite you to definitely attend our future events. We have actually this afternoon at 1 o'clock, I have Igel Technology joining me for a webinar, and we're going to talk about securing the remote worker and what they're doing for that. And then next week, I have 2 guests. I'm doing another double header. Webinar Wednesdays. In the morning, I'm going to do Liquidware and how they're enabling app layering on WVD. And then I'm also going to be talking to my friends over at Nerdio and how they're enabling streamlining the management of Windows or Microsoft WVD. So definitely check out, again, XenTegra.com/webinar and register today. We got a lot of great topics and demos coming up. All right, with that, guys, I'll say thank you for taking the time today and joining me. And everybody on the phone, thank you for taking time out of your hour to come on and join us. And again, the recording will be posted and you'll get a follow-up email if you want to watch this again and if you want to share it with some friends. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And with that, I'm going to close this webinar and say thanks, RingCentral team, for joining me. And thanks, everybody else, for jumping on today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.